He cried. He cried. He was a very, very, very traditional and sentimental guy in ways that many of us just never saw, you know. And the intelligence has been well documented. Near the end, Tony would sometimes say to me that he had some regrets. Who doesn't, you know? And one of his regrets was that he sort of never kind of finished his formal education, if you will. I can tell you that I work around people every day, you know, who have advanced degrees and are highly credentialed, and they will hold a candle to Tony in terms of his intelligence. Almost encyclopedic knowledge on art, music, poetry, literature, and of course the New York Giants, or the San Francisco Giants, and don't even talk about Springsteen, you already have. But the last thing I want to say about him is commenting on his courage. Yes, Tony succumbed to his disease, but he never let himself be defined by it. Never. He fought it, and he fought it courageously. And I don't want to be profane, and I won't be, but sometimes he would look at his demons and just say, F you, and he would push ahead. And he was as honest about those issues as anybody I've ever known. I wish I was as honest. And I'm around recovering people every day, and very few show the kind of honesty and integrity and courage that Tony showed. He fought it as long as he possibly could. So today, for me, ladies and gentlemen, it's a day of sadness, of course, and I can't ignore or minimize that. But above all, I'm enormously grateful. I'm enormously grateful that our paths crossed in that kindergarten room 56 years ago, and that our friendship endured the test of time and distance. And I'm grateful for all of you. I can see in every one of you, and as I watched you walk into this room and fill this room with love and joy, that he meant as much to you as he did to me, and it didn't matter how long you knew him. I mean, 56 years, 56 days, 56 minutes, it doesn't matter. You knew him as I did, and it's so gratifying for me to hear the same kinds of things coming from all of you who knew him. I used to tease him about being the mayor of Aspen. Whenever I came to meet him or see him here, you know, we'd walk down the street, we couldn't get a block without, hey, Dalton, you know. And he'd stop and talk and show care and concern and compassion. And that's what I want to remember today, is that friendship. And my wish for you and for myself and for everyone here is that we all have that kind of person in our lives. And I can't be anything other than grateful today for the time I had with him. Thank you very much.
Tony, with the depth and breadth of these two last speakers. But one of his first jobs in town was at Explore Booksellers. And it's great today to see various of those booksellers who worked in the store over time here today. And he achieved a status when he worked at the bookstore that no one had ever had before, and that was a part-time bookseller. Captain Thalberg felt that if there was anybody part-time, they wouldn't know the books well enough to help you all understand what the right decision of what to read next would be. So that was a rather exalted job description that he had. And he would come in on weekends with Scott Hicks, who was one of his great buddies who called him Dalton. And as soon as the store would open, this would be on weekends, either a Saturday or a Sunday, people would stream in. People that he had met in the last week, people that he had just made brief encounters with, old friends, and they would talk about politics, they would talk about books, they would talk about which books to read, they'd talk about the New York Giants, the San Francisco Giants. I told him that he was a late comer to the scene with the Giants because we never forgave the Giants for leaving New York. But at any rate, that was a great time for him. He was Catholic in his upbringing, and one of the great Catholic writers is named Flannery O'Connor. And one of her great short novels was called A Good Man is Hard to Find. And so O'Connor, a writer named O'Connor the man. And that was Tony. A good man is hard to find. Scott Hicks wrote an email to me, and I want to just share one part of it, if you wouldn't mind my reading it. To give you an idea of his generosity of spirit. Oh my God. In 2001, when Tony and Ree's daughter, first daughter, India, had died, he said, I was already back at school trying to get back into a routine to distract me from the loss. One afternoon, I looked out the window and I saw Tony walking up the bridge. He came to my desk and we went back outside. He'd come to simply give me a hug and tell me how sorry he was. The embrace was from a brother that I never had, and it conveyed a depth that revealed his inner turmoil. It was profound and emotional for both of us. I remember standing above Castle Creek questioning what had happened, and Dalton counseled that answers were impossible, and that I needed to mourn and grieve. His words were sincere, and they provided a safe harbor from the turbulent seas that engulfed us. He came to campus that day to be a friend, and I will never forget his compassion. That's the generosity of spirit that the two speakers before really talked about. He was so overly qualified for his profession, which is one of the all-time waiters ever to wait in Aspen. In the early days, we all said we were more qualified for the jobs that we had here at the beginning. But he loved the lifestyle that came with that kind of job. He didn't have to be at work during the day, right? So he had the breadth of things that he could play golf with Jeff, do all the things that he loved to do. But he made the most, it was like a means to an end, being a waiter and enabling you to stay in Aspen, Colorado. And he made the most of the means of many, many of these wait people in town. They're professionals. It's amazing how many of them are still with us here and so good at it. And he entertained everyone who he waited on. And Tony could talk to you about this because this is one of his venues. He made everyone feel like they were a special person. And, when I lived in New York, the Skid Row of New York back in the 60s was the Bowery. The psychologists there told me that there were more high IQs in the Skid Row of New York City and the Bowery than anywhere else in New York City. He had a capacity, as both of these speakers talked about in terms of intelligence. The challenge with that is it lets him in more than most of us could even dream of having in silence. And that is not easy to cope with. So he's died. Where the hell he is, who knows? I'll just say that when my father was dying, he said to me, Bill, I'm not afraid of dying. He said, and I liken it to when we immigrated from Scotland with my whole family. None of us had ever been to America before, but many others have been there before us. Thank you.
I am hoping there's a few more restaurant stories because I'm just going to touch on the fact that humor that we were blessed with in the restaurants, I can't even tell you how many things come up. But I wanted to tell you guys also that I had a similar television phone conversation thing. I had never watched baseball, and Dalton taught me baseball. And then every single World Series, we talked on the phone through the whole game. And I'd ask him questions. It's the only thing I ever watched in baseball. Even when I was away in Savannah, he called and he'd go on and on about it. But there's a great thing that he used to do for me, and I think Gerald, I don't know where he is, but he does it much funnier, is the restaurant would be in the weeds, packed, crazy, difficult clients. They waited forever. He, by the way, only always called me McLean, never ever anything else. And he'd come up and he'd say, he'd just sneak over to me and go, "Hold my hand." Got it. Hold my hand. And I would just get this calm. I would just go, "Okay, great, glad you got it." But he was one of my dearest friends, and I still can't believe it. So I share all the love.
I'm going to tell a story about Dalton's humor, and I'm probably going to get arrested for it, or someone's going to sue me, but I won't use a name. Some of you will know the name, but let's not smirk or smile too much. So Dalton came to work one day, and he was kind of like, gosh, I went into a sauna after skiing. I really needed some quiet time, some time to just chill out and be alone and collect my thoughts after skiing. And he walked into the sauna and the steam came out, and there was someone sitting naked that he knew from the restaurant that he worked in with us at Renaissance, sort of perched up naked with one leg up, kind of a vision he wasn't planning on, and sat down and put his head down and thought, I'm not going to talk, I'm just going to sit here. And sure enough, the person looked at him and said, hey, Dalton. And the way he told it was just like Dalton tells stories, and I was like, oh, there we go. And he goes, hey, Dalton. And I'm like, hey, how you doing? And he goes, yeah, I'm doing great. He goes, I just want to talk about the restaurant a little bit. So I was like, cool. And he goes, from a very young age, I knew that these hands were made to make magic. These hands were born. I was born to make magic, or these hands were. Dalton said, that's awesome, man. That's great. And he just kept thinking to myself, God, I'd just be sitting here not looking up and not seeing what I'm seeing. So the gentleman continued to talk and say, hey, the restaurant's all about love. I just want you to know the restaurant is all about love. And all of us are family, and we're all about love. And Dalton said, absolutely, it is. And you're absolutely right. But Dalton's admitting that, like he was, it's just a different experience than he expected in the sauna in that moment. So a little bit more of a conversation goes on, and about making magic and the restaurant being about love. And he goes to work that night, and we sat around a 72-inch round every night for dinner, all of us, and told our stories from the day. And there was always great stories, and always laughter, and always just that bonding experience. And then that night we got into service. Everything got heated. The kitchen got heated, as it does a lot, and chefs get, excitable and all of those kinds of things. And Dalton took a plate. A steak was under or overcooked, and said, look, we got an issue and we just need to fix it. Let's just fix it. That's the way Dalton worked. And the steak is, overcooked. It's supposed to be medium rare. It's medium well. And the person looked at him and said, fuck you, Dalton. Fuck you. I'm standing there next to Dalton, and I just heard the whole story earlier. And I looked at Dalton, and I'm standing here, and he's looking into the past, and I'm looking at him, and he turns to me and goes, fuck you with love. And I literally almost hit the deck. Like my legs got wobbly, and I thought,